I'm Captain McManus from the Hamilton Police Department. I want to thank all of you for coming today. Chief Buchheit's out of the office. This is unavailable. So I'm here representing him and the Hamilton Police Department, and am accompanied by Butler County Prosecutor Mike Gmoser and Hamilton Safety Director Scott Skermese. We're here because of the unfortunate events that took place yesterday. Around 2:35 in the afternoon at Knightsbridge and Central Avenue, we received a call of shots fired. One vehicle pulled up to another, fired into that vehicle, striking the two occupants of that vehicle, both of whom are now deceased. There were several 911 calls that we received as a result of witnesses that were present at that scene. A description of the suspect vehicle was put out immediately. A Hamilton police officer observed that vehicle crossing the Columbia Bridge and attempted a felony car stop. And at that time, the vehicle fled south on 128 towards Ross, Ohio. Pursuit took place. There was a crash at roughly 128 and Ross Millville Road. One suspect fled the vehicle at that time, was pursued on foot by a Ross Township officer, along with a couple other officers who I do not know their identities at this time. The suspect vehicle continued on Ross Millville Road till it crashed in the area of State Route 27 and Ross Millville Road, where a foot pursuit took place, and there was an extensive search, and the other two suspects were subsequently apprehended after that search. There were three suspects. All three are in custody. There were two victims of the shooting. The victims were Orlando Gilbert, age 25, Todd Berus, age 25. Suspects were Zachary Harris, age 24, Tony Patete, age 23, and Melinda Gibby, age 35. I want to stress that these victims were specifically targeted. This was not a random drive-by shooting. I think the connotation sometimes derived from the term drive-by is random. This was not random. They were specifically targeted. I'm sure a number of you have questions as to whether or not this investigation is related to this incident is related to the double shooting at the Doubles Bar this weekend. We are certainly exploring that possibility and consider that to be probable. However, we have not confirmed that, and we're working on that. I will not comment on any of the investigations with regard to either of these incidents. I will tell you that citizen cooperation and results and response to these investigations are a direct reflection of the cooperation we receive from witnesses. We received exceptional cooperation yesterday from the witnesses. All three of those suspects were apprehended within a short period of time. In the Doubles incident, we have 100 to 200 people in a bar, and the cooperation we've gotten has been limited at best. At one time, the founder considered to be the father of modern policing, Robert Peel, said, "Police are the public and public are the police." As police officers and police departments, whether it's here, Cincinnati, Chicago, or anywhere else in this country, we're only as good as the citizens we serve. The citizens have to work in cooperation with the police for this system to work. And we strongly urge anybody with any information with respect to any of these incidents or any other incidents that they're aware of, that they contact the Hamilton Police Investigations Bureau at 868-5811, extension 2002. As I said, there were several departments involved. They include Butler County Sheriff's Office, who provided canines, helicopter, and scene assistance at all three locations. Their assistance was key, and we are extremely grateful to their help. As I said before, the Ross Township officer played a big role in this. He was directly involved in apprehending the first suspect. Middletown officers responded and provided 2 canines. Fairfield Police responded with a canine. Our own canine was out there. Coleraine Township officer was out there. Hamilton County Sheriff's Office was out there. And New Miami. There may be others that I have omitted, and if I miss somebody, I certainly apologize, because everybody's deserving of credit. The Hamilton officers, as well as all officers involved in this incident, did an excellent job. Our detectives have worked round the clock since the double shooting, and the work they're doing is exceptional. I can't say enough how proud I am of the work that they've done and of the officers that are responding to these crimes and these dangerous situations. As I said before, I won't go into any detail about the investigations of these incidents. They continue, and these cases are now turned over to Mike Gmoser, and we will be working closely with him on all these cases to continue to improve them and to bring those responsible before the court. So, with that, I introduce Butler County Prosecutor Mike Gmoser.
Thank you. There is nothing that beats a speedy trial more than a speedy apprehension. And that's exactly what happened in this case. First, as you will know from the 911 calls that have been released to you, you will see the cooperation that the police department in the city of Hamilton received from the cooperation of witnesses at the time that this event occurred. Without that immediate cooperation, a willingness to step up and protect their community from this horrific crime, the apprehension may have taken much longer. I too want to thank all of the departments involved. It has been an outstanding labor of love for them to seek justice for the community and the victims in this particular case. And that's been achieved with the idea in mind that the city of Hamilton and Butler County will not succumb or be a place for a culture of violence, for a culture of lawlessness. While I'm not going to go into the details to any large extent with respect to this case, I want to tell you that the alleged offenders are not of this community. They are from outside of this community. They came to Butler County, and you will learn from the charges that I recommended be filed that they had one mind, and that mind was to assassinate an individual, to execute an individual. And therein lies the charge of aggravated murder, to purposely take a life with prior calculation and design, which is fundamental to a charge of aggravated murder. Now, of course, bear in mind that everyone who is charged with a crime is presumed innocent before the law until found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by a trier of fact, a jury, or a judge. And I want to make sure that I always say that with reference to those matters that I call your attention to with respect to charges. The charges in this particular case do carry with them, and I will tell you, that specifications will be considered by the Butler County grand jury. You often hear reports of prosecutors are seeking this or recommending that. In Butler County, the grand jury is the one that will control the outcome of the ultimate charges in this case, but they will be given an opportunity to consider the charges of aggravated murder along with appropriate specifications that could involve the death penalty if the grand jury returns indictments with those specifications involved. Those specifications, one includes the killing of 2 or more individuals. which is certainly clear from the charges in this case. There is another specification that you will only learn about in the course of the trial, or preliminary to the trial with respect to the indictment, assuming one is returned. Likewise, in our discussions today, if you have questions, I'm not going to be discussing the motivations beyond telling you that the charge, obviously, of aggravated murder involves prior calculation and design for the taking of life. Now, you can simplify that with a label in saying that they intended to execute somebody or that they intended to assassinate somebody. I don't really care. My job is to prove charges in the law as they are defined at law, and that's my job. This was a cooperative effort of all of the agencies that have been mentioned. There is a mountain of evidence that has to be reviewed. The collection procedures of the 21st century are truly amazing, with DNA, blood analysis, all kinds of stuff that you probably see from time to time if you watch forensic science on television with respect to crime stories and things like that. It is truly amazing, but that stuff doesn't happen overnight. While the apprehension occurred within a matter of hours, the technologies involved in establishing all of the facts essential for a jury to consider these cases will take time, and all of that will be submitted to appropriate laboratories for complete analysis, and that is in the process of being done. The investigation is not over. I know there's going to be questions. Are these the only individuals involved? Let me just answer that question in advance by telling you this, and we will say no more about this. That part of the investigation is ongoing, and there will be no further comment with respect to an exploration by you of what is meant by the investigation is ongoing. So with that in mind, I think I've covered those matters that are essential for what you want to know preliminarily. And we can take questions, I suppose, at this time, if you want to address some questions. Yes?
Well, just the idea, obviously, all three suspects, Columbus, Newark, Lancaster, out of the area. Comment a little bit further on the fact that somebody from outside the area would come in to wreak this kind of havoc, if you will, upon the community.
The best deterrent for anybody that's thinking about coming to Butler County to commit a crime is catching them as fast as they have been caught in Butler County, as quickly as they did, with the cooperation of the citizens involved, the eyewitnesses involved, the man and woman on the street that observed, and the police departments that all came together in the air, on the land, with canine crews and men on and women in boots, so to speak, beating the bushes to catch these offenders. That's a wonderful thing, frankly. And that ought to give pause to anybody that thinks they can come and ply their activities in this manner in Butler County. So I'm very proud of what's happened with respect to that part of this case. Not so proud of the fact that somebody thought they could pull that off in Butler County and get away with it, but very proud of what happened by the police work involved.
Assassination, execution, very strong words.
Well, when you kill two people with gunfire and a high-speed chase that results in injuries to innocent citizens that could have been catastrophic for them, and the charge is prior calculation and design, to me that's kind of a euphemism. You know what a euphemism is, right? I mean, you guys are all very literate. A euphemism for assassination or execution is prior calculation and design and purposefully killing. You can call it whatever you want. Frankly, I kind of like assassination and execution because that seems to fit the law of this case in simple terms. Labels sometimes work real well as shorthand for explaining the law. So I'm okay with labels, and that's the two labels that I apply. Now, you don't have to apply them, but I do. Anybody else? Yes.
Obviously, Orlando Gilbert, who was killed, was injured in the doubles shooting. Can you say, there was also yesterday the funeral for Caleb Mullins. Can you say if any of these involved attended the funeral yesterday morning?
Well, the word attend is a term that has potentially multiple meanings. I'm not going to comment on that, Karen. I think that that's one of those facts that alleged facts, that you've alleged it, as it were, that only will lead to more questions along that that I'm not going to go into at this time.
Does the fact that this was so brazen and that the shootings at Doubles was so, I mean, I'm in a crowd of 100, 200 people, does this give you guys worried or cause concern that there's a escalation just in general of violent crime in this area?
What did I say at the beginning? We are not going to tolerate a culture of violence in this community. And the fastest way to stamp that out is get the cooperation of the citizens, as we have. And when we don't have it, which we didn't have at Doubles, we've got 200 people approximately in that Doubles place. And all 200 people couldn't be in the bathroom at Doubles and not see what happened. Right? Out of 200 people, we get 3 or 4 that are willing to step up and say what they saw. Largely because they were almost killed themselves and said enough is enough, especially when the gun's pointing at them. But I don't want to digress and go too far into the Toolies with respect to the Doubles, but I can tell you that we did not get much cooperation from the very people that sometimes complain about the lack of police involvement. And that's a strange irony, isn't it? You ask for help, but you won't give any. Now that's got to stop too, and that's why I want the leaders across the board in this community, black, white, pink, purple, whatever, to call upon their constituents to help, because the people that are going to help are right there, and right there, and right there. They want to help, but without cooperation, they can't do as good a job as they could. They are trained professionals. They really are. This is a police force of the 21st century. These are educated people. You know, these aren't some thugs from 50 years ago or wherever in the South. These are educated 21st century police that want to help. Give them a hand. Step up. Don't take the easy way out and say, it's not my problem. It becomes your problem when you have to go to the funeral for your loved one. Then it suddenly is a problem. All right. Anybody else?
One of the things that one of the pastors said yesterday was he said he thought it was kind of sad that there were just people standing around watching this unfold, almost as if they'd become accustomed to seeing this type of violence. You know, he said that they were almost like they were just watching a movie, you know, sitting on their lawn chairs, sitting on top of cars. He said it's kind of a time to not to have that anymore, that type of mentality.
Well, I don't know how pervasive that particular mentality is, and I don't know what he actually saw. It seems to be, however, that crime in our country, whether it's a streetcar chase out in Los Angeles or somebody in a motorcycle chase in New York City, problems with respect to policing and the law have become a spectator sport. And that is an unfortunate culture, but I don't think that that's unique to any community. I think that's kind of pervasive across all communities. We are living in an age where everybody wants to get their 15 minutes of fame or take the picture that's going to make the national news, and everybody's got a cell phone. How do I know that? When you stop at a stoplight, take a look at your left and right, and you're going to see somebody either texting or talking on their cell phone. Everybody's got one. So am I concerned about that observation? Not really. I think that's kind of human nature to a certain extent. You know, to a certain extent, people don't want to get personally involved in police work, and we're not asking them to. And I want the general public to know, just like with Crime Stoppers in Cincinnati, which I fully support, and they do a terrific job. If you want to get involved in Butler County, you don't have to come forward and give your name. Just give us the facts. If you want to give us your name, that will help, sure. But if the best you can do is just give us a lead, give us a tip, something we can follow up on, and to get involved, so you can go home at night, put your head on the pillow and say, hey, I helped out. I did my civic duty. I did the right thing. You don't have to give your name. And I don't like the idea of calling those people snitches. That's a pejorative term, and I would like to see it ended. Cooperative witnesses is what I want. But if you say that you'll like a snitch, that guy or gal is not going to be stepping forward to accept credit under those terms or using that term. So let's call them what they are, cooperative witnesses, who I appreciate and thank for whatever they do to help us without putting them down for doing it. We need more of that type of civic duty, that sense of society. Eventually builds the sense of nationhood, frankly. It was kind of lacking in our communities these days, I think. But that's just me. I'm not a politician per se in that sense. I'm just a prosecutor, but I see a lot of this stuff. And that's why I get carried away sometimes with these statements. Yeah.
Sergeant Rodney probably did this yesterday, saying it's just time for everybody just to step back, take a breath, and, you know, especially with school starting and everything like that. Do you agree with that?
I think it's always time to do that. You know, frankly, we of course need to step back and take a breath, but the police department doesn't have time to step back and take a breath. They have to answer the call, and they've got to be prepared to answer the call every single hour of every single day. And they really do a terrific job of doing that. So would I like them to be able to step back and take a breath? I don't see them frustrated and required to take that stepping back and taking that breath, frankly. So I don't exactly know why that statement was made. I would like to see them being able to do that, but I don't see it's possible when we have these types of assaultive behaviors going on that require them to do their daily, hourly job. I'd like to thank you all for your participation today.